Good morning to everyone, to the officials of the National Historical Commission of the Philippines, our Division Chief, Mrs. Gina Batuhan, our fellow curators, museum personnel, and to all the students and teachers attending this webinar. Welcome to the first lecture of the Museum of Philippine Social History titled Natural Disasters in Region 3. Philippines is considered as one of the countries in the world that is prone to natural hazards because of its geographical location, take into account as well the effects of climate change due to the natural processes of the earth. Aside from that, what worsens the situation all the more are the human activities that contributes to climate change and environmental degradation. Occurrence of natural disasters largely affect humanity, the social aspect, and the economy of the society. And just about in any country around the world, we ought to bounce back and recover from these calamities. Today, we are holding a lecture as we remember the recent incident of the Taal eruption that took us by surprise. We recall that day of January 12, 2020, the horror of the ashfall and the earthquake that massively affected areas of Batangas, Tagaytay, and Cavite, and several parts of the Philippines. Imagine 3.4 billion pesos worth of infrastructure and agricultural lands were damaged that time according to NDRRMC, setting the people's minds to rise above the turmoil. Yet again, few months after, we were faced with another tragedy to human race, the pandemic, then the super typhoons, lost lives, lost homes, and more other losses, which are emotionally draining and inevitable when it comes to natural calamities. But we look into hope in surviving all these hardships. In today's lecture, our main focus will be the 19th century natural calamities in Central Luzon, and we will see how cultural values and practices have strengthened people's resilience towards the calamities they experience one after the other. We have with us today a well-known professor, a lawyer, the president of the Baliwag Polytechnic College, Attorney Robert John Donesa, a cum laude graduate of the Mindanao University Bachelor of Arts in History, took up his Bachelor's of Laws in the University of Santo Tomas, Master's in History from the University of Santo Tomas, Manila, and presently accomplishing his doctorate of Philosophy Management from the St. Louis University, Baguio City. Take it away, attorney, and bring us back in time.
Good morning sa lahat. Thank you for this invitation. I'm so happy that I'm invited today. Thank you so much, Ma'am Betty. We talk today about natural calamities and we focus on Region 3, Central Luzon, Philippines. Ang focus natin, the Spanish period Philippines. We need to trim the loose ends by defining the terms para pare-pareho tayo, we are on the same page. Natural calamities will be used interchangeably with natural disasters. And this refers to the natural process or phenomenon that may cause loss of life, injury, or other health impacts, property damage, loss of livelihoods and services, social and economic disruption, or environmental damage. From the word natural, mahihinuhan natin na this is not man-made. This is a natural process of the earth. No? And the Merriam-Webster Dictionary defined natural disaster as a sudden and terrible event, no, in nature, such as hurricane, tornado, or flood that usually results in serious damage and many deaths. No? So as mentioned, the Philippines is known, no, and has suffered not only from one, but many. So the word from the foreign press, inexhaustible number of deadly typhoons, earthquakes, volcano eruptions, and other natural disaster. No? The media attribute, no, this fact because of our location. No? Due to our location, we are located in the ring of fire, no, or the typhoon belt. No? Nandun tayo sa gilid ng Pacific region, the vast Pacific region. And the region is known to be very dynamic in terms of geological activities, natural activities. No? So, where many Earth's volcanic eruptions and earthquakes occur. So that is we are in the Pacific Rim. And that could be a bonus for us or a curse for us depending on how we look at the situation. Huh? It is a curse kasi we lost millions and even billions of pesos a year in infrastructure and in products and in our crops, no, and even in our natural environment, no? Because of the exposure to different natural calamities, as mentioned, no. It could also be a good thing, no, kasi it makes us lucky to be living in a country. No, napakalaki natin to be living in a country so biodiverse because of the activities of the earth that occurs in our country. No, scientific persons who study weather, persons who study biodiversity, geology would find our country a paradise for a study of the natural activities of the earth, no? Ayan. So it could be a bonus for us being dwellers of a place so much challenged, no? Almost every year wala pong taon na walang dumaan sa ating na disaster. No? Or it could also be a curse, no? So we also defined our local, no? Kasi I will not be covering the whole country. We cover Central Luzon, which is officially designated right now at present as Region 3, no? And is an administrative region in the country occupying the central section of Luzon. It covers 7 provinces: Aurora, Bataan, Bulacan, Nueva Ecija, Pampanga, Tarlac, and Zambales. And it also covered two highly urbanized cities. The regional center is the city of San Fernando in Pampanga. So we are now clear. We are now clear that we will be talking about natural disasters, not man-made, natural, and we will be only focused on our local, the Central Luzon, which is in itself, no, a very challenging local to study, no. It is the home kasi of volcanoes, no, and it is also a favorite path of gigantic and damaging typhoons, no. And itself, no, the whole region is a geological wonder, no. It is a geological wonder, no? Where suturing of islands took place, no? So Central Luzon is a good place to study also. So let's begin with the earthquake of 1645, no? The earthquake of 1645 is one of the most memorable earthquake in the Philippines, and it's one of the worst earthquake also. And if you notice the date, wala pang 100 years tayong na-colonize ng mga Spaniards. It means na ang pinaka-developed na area niyan ay Manila pa muna. No? So this earthquake really, although it started in Central Luzon, it really damaged the whole city of Manila. No? So before this earthquake, marami na tayong mga typhoons na dumaan sa Philippines. So since marami na tayong typhoons, the Filipinos and the residents of Manila are now changing the way they build their homes. So from wood and nipa palms, they started now to build concrete, no, masonry buildings. So may mga bato na mga bahay sa Manila, no? Kasi for 40 years walang earthquake doon. So walang heavy earthquake or a big earthquake that shook Manila and its environs in the last 40 years in 1645. So they had this nagkampante na sila na they build houses of strong materials, a reaction to the typhoons that took place, no? Hindi nila inexpect na kung ikaw ay safe sa typhoon because of your stone houses, you will be endangered also of the earthquake. So this is the first earthquake that the Spaniards experienced, and 450 of the Spaniards, no, that big, died, no, exposing the Spanish government into danger, no, of being taken over by the so-called infieles or taken over by the natives. So it took place in November 30, 1645, during the feast day of Saint Andrew. And it took place at night, no? Sabi nga nila kung 2 hours daw, kung 10 o'clock na nagkaroon ng earthquake ng gabi, malamang everybody died. But it took place at 8 p.m. A horrible noise was heard and the earth began to tremble. The tremor was so violent and furious, about 7.5 magnitude. That's really, really big. That's really, really strong. That it seemed that it would bury all the inhabitants. It felt like running from north to south and at the same time from east to west. No? Parang niyugyug talaga ang Manila, north, south, east, west. No? And then ang description ay very vivid. No? Ang mga stone walls daw ay yumuyugyug na parang mga papel na hinahangin, no? And the towers quivered like trees, parang mga puno na yung mga tore ng yung mga church bell towers, parang ng mga trees, no? And even the large trees of Manila swung, no? Side to side like ships battered by a storm, no? So 150 large houses collapsed, no, in Manila alone. And large houses in Manila looked like palaces in other cities. No? Manila was at its prime, no? During that time. 450 citizens died. And take note, this number, the counting, they did not count the natives and the Chinese. They only counted the citizens, the so-called Spaniards. No? But that earthquake of 1645 originated from Central Luzon. It originated in the present-day San Manuel, San Jose, in Nueva Ecija, Digdig, and Gabaldon in Central Luzon. So, which means na if the impact was great in Manila, it would be greater in Central Luzon. So, the description in Central Luzon was just passing, but it was it shows the earthquake's magnitude. In Central Luzon, the entire towns of natives, no, with their houses of bamboo and nipa were wiped out. No? Mountains were leveled, no? And rivers dried and then flowed again. Some rivers overflowed and flooded the towns. Large cracks, no? And even gorges appeared on grounds and in the fields, no? Walang naka-report na deaths of the natives kasi they are not they were not the interests of the press, no? Hindi interesado ang press sa kanila, but it was estimated that 3,000 natives died. Later writers during the late Spanish period says that around 3,000 natives died. No? Ayan. So it originated from Central Luzon, and Central Luzon towns are actually so much affected, no? some houses of some towns, entire towns, no, were wiped out. So isa sa next na pinaka memorable na event sa Central Luzon is the so-called Trumba Marina. It happened in Baler in 1735. No? So if you remember Baler, it is as isolated now as it is in the past. No? Malayong-malayo siya sa Pilipinas. No? Natandaan niyo sa kasaysayan natin na lumaya na ang Pilipinas. Ang Baler ay lumaya na ang Pilipinas sa mga Espanyol. Ang Baler ay hindi pa. No? Sakop pa din siya ng mga Espanyol. No? Because of its isolation. No? It is a town facing the Pacific region, no, and away from the major cities, no, in the Central Luzon and in Manila, no. But in 1735, there was a so-called Trumba Marina in Baler, no. So Trumba Marina is a tornado over Pacific Ocean, no. Tapos ang tornado na ito ay nireclaim niya ang Baler, no, ginawa niyang dagat ulit ang buong bayan, no? So Baler on December 26, no, right after Christmas 1735, also gabi nangyari siya. At 9 p.m., clouds began to form and spread all over the town. And there were horrendous lightning, thunder, and great firebolts, no? Ang daming kidlat, no? At saka ang kapal ng ulap, no? And then bahagi ng mga bundok nag-crumbled, no? Although sabi ng mga priest na nag-report, the mountains are made of rocks, no? Hard stones, no? Large boulders. Pero bigla silang nagkahulog-hulog, no? And then an earthquake struck, no? And it seemed to split the grounds. So ang mga taga-Baler ngayon, meron silang park kung saan they showed how the people of Baler escaped from the Trumba Marina, no? So everybody went to church, and the church was a refuge to the people of Baler during that time, no? At the bell tower, no, sinilip nila sa torre, they saw na wala nang naiwan sa kanilang village, no? It was flooded by water. The whole village was flooded, and people now took refuge at the church and at the convent, no? At midnight, not a single house was standing, no? And then dun sila sa church, biglang nakarinig sila ng sound, no? Nahulog na yung main altar because of the rushing of the water, no? So the church also eventually collapsed, no? Ang ginawa ng mga tao is they took refuge in the kitchen, no? And sa batalan, no? And then doon sa kitchen at sa batalan, nakita nila na ang convent ay inaanod na, no? Tinangay na ng tubig, no? How sad was that, no? Para silang nasa maliit na island na lang, no? Doon sa batalan, no? And then they started praying. In fact, yung kanilang pare, si Father Blas de San Diego, nagbigay na ng mga parang yung huling sacraments para sa mamamatay na. Binigyan na lahat ng kasama niya sa simbahan ng last sacraments. Kasi wala na, no? And then they started praying to Our Lady of Abandonment, no? The Mary, the Lady of the Abandoned, no? And then bigla sila, feeling nila kasi magko-collapse na din yung kusina at saka yung batalan na kung saan sila nandoon. They started to jump in order to swim, no? But only to find out na sa kanilang kinalalagyan ay 1 foot lang yung water. So they consider it a miracle, no? They attributed it to the health of Mama Mary, the Our Lady of the Abandoned. And then dahil dyan, Father Blas de San Diego, yung paring naka-assign, nag-request siya sa Governor General ng Pilipinas na exempt muna sa pagbabayad ng tributo o kaya buwis ang baler sa loob ng 4 na taon at sila ay magta-transfer ng place, no, sa isang lugar na tinatawag na Dingalan, no, sa Aurora ngayon, no. And I have seen documents na it was approved, no. So ito ang itsura pala ng Trumba Marina sa ibang bansa, no. But technically that is how a Trumba Marina look, no. Pero misleading yung salitang Trumba Marina. It means na a marine trumpet, no. Hugis kasi siya ng turotot, no. And it is actually a tornado sa ibabaw ng tubig dagat, no. At connected siya sa cumulus clouds, no. At pag ito'y napunta sa lupa, no, kasi karamihan ng ganyan ay nagfo-form malapit sa lupa, magbubuhos ito ng maraming tubig, no. And one of the famous families na nag-survive sa Trumba Marina is yung mga Angara family na kinabibilangan ngayon ng mga politicians in the area, no. Okay. So another memorable Region 3 event, no, is the flash flood at Capas Tarlac, no. If you look at Tarlac today, it is a very beautiful place located near at the foot of Mount Pinatubo. You cannot imagine that there could be a flash flood, no, in an area that is elevated, no. Ayan. But in May 1850 there was a storm, no, in Central Luzon, and it poured so much water, no. And then doon pala sa ibabaw ng bundok, meron doong natural swamp, no, meron doong natural na parang dam na nag-ipon siya ng water. And then because of the storm that poured so much water, suddenly nag-break open itong mga waters na ito, itong swamp na ito, no? And hindi na-accommodate ng rivers, although during that time may 3 rivers ang Capas, hindi siya na-accommodate ng river ng Capas Tarlac. So it really flooded the valley, no, raising the water up to the roofs of the houses, no, and then many of which were washed away, no. So what did the people do? Well, they climbed the trees or the roofs of their houses, and those who failed were drowned, no. Nagkalulubugan, no? Hindi ko talaga yan maisip, no. I was in Iligan as was introduced. I graduated from Mindanao State University. I lived in Iligan City for quite a while. And looking around, hindi ko talaga maisip na pwede siyang magka-flash flood nung panahon ng Sindong. Kasi it is really far from mga malalaking waters, no. Pwede pang tsunami, but not flash flood. Pero wala akong alam na doon pala sa bandang taas, umuulan na pala ng umuulan, and then nag-break open yung mga rivers, no. It was so devastating. Nakita ko yung pati mga tulay ay hinati ng water, no. Water is a very powerful element sa atin, no? And when it moves like say 9 meters per second, it can really move even rocks, no, na malalaki, boulders, no. And that is what happened in Capas Tarlac, no. Fragile pa naman dito kasi itong Capas Tarlac, it is a Negrito settlement, and the Negritos really are very adapted to this, no. And pag resettle sila, yun yung policy ng mga Espanyol, patitirahin sila sa isang settlement, no. It will expose them to natural disaster. Nung dati na they are nomadic, no, they live anywhere, they live where they want to live, preferably malapit sa bundok, sa ibabaw ng bundok, no. Safe sila sa mga flash flood. When the Spaniards resettled them, no, hindi nila na-expose tuloy sila. Hindi kinikinita ng mga Spaniards na ma-expose ang kanilang mga native people na inaalagaan sa flash flood. And really, it killed so many Eta. No? When the flood began, the natives ran towards their missionary, si Father Juan de Santa Lucia, no? A very venerable priest. No? Nagtago sila sa tribunal, no? Sa Casa Tribunal, which was located on a higher ground. No? Pero nag-second wave kasi yung flood, no? Second and more furious current came forcing them to leave the site, no? And for a higher plateau nearby, no? The parish priest, it killed, no, many people. It drowned many people, no? Father Juan de Santa Lucia estimated na around 3/4 sa kanyang mga inaalagaang mga Aita ay namatay, no? And the parish priest, no, from the towns of Mabalacat, of Angeles, no, naawa sila. They sent Father Juan clothes in large number, no? And Father Juan continued, no, despite the fact na nagka-flash flood na doon, they continued Capas as a settlement. Another is the earthquake of July 18 and 19, 1880. No? And our facts of this earthquake comes from Memoria, no? Written by Don Jose Centeno E. Garcia. No? Isa siyang enhinyero ng mga minas, mining engineer it's a government employee, no, in charge of the mines, no. And siya ang gumawa ng report, no, on this about the earthquake that occurred in July of 1880, no. And the book can be found at the Biblioteca Digital Hispanica ng Biblioteca Central de España, no? Biblioteca Nacional de España, no? So I'd like to thank that institution pala for digitizing, no, so many books about the Philippines, no? There are many thousands of books on the Philippines. I encourage those who want to study history, no, to browse the Biblioteca Digital Hispanica. No, magandang place for study, no? And these valuable pictures actually came from that library, no? And these are pictures of churches all over Luzon. Unfortunately, wala masyado sa Central Luzon, no? Ito sa Pangasinan, itong sa taas, and then sa Mauban. Ayan. But the earthquake passed through the Central Luzon area, no? To give you a view of the destruction of the earthquake, no? That is the Tower of Manila Cathedral, no? After the earthquakes of 1880. Kung mapapansin niyo yung 1880, and that's in Manila, in Intramuros, that is actually the time when Rizal was studying at the UST, and he saw that, no? He saw the Manila that is destroyed, no? Ayan, so that earthquake of July 18 passed through Central Luzon, and these are the areas: Cabanatuan, no, Gapan, San Antonio, San Isidro, no, hanggang Pampanga, hanggang Candaba. These are the areas, no, that show so much cracks, no. And if you notice, it is the far side of the Pinatubo area. So nasa Central Luzon siya, malayo sa Zambales, no? Ayan. So ang teorya ng mga writers is that yung mas stable ang area na malapit sa Mount Pinatubo kaysa yung sa Central Plain of Luzon mismo, no? So kung titingnan, walang damage sa Kamiling, Tarlac, Mabalacat, Angeles, Bacolor, Guagua, walang evidence ng earthquake. Pero sa Tarlac City, no? Kanina Kamiling, Tarlac 'yun. Arayat, Santa Ana, Mexico, Macabebe, completely ruined. No? Yan. Kung mapapansin nyo sa Mexico, may dalawa sa Mexico, Pampanga, kung nagawi kayo doon, it has a unique church tower na dalawa itong Santa Monica Church. No? Pero isa na lang ang naiwan ngayon and the other one is a reconstruction. No? Because the tower completely fell. No? Ayan. This on our left side is a new reconstruction. No? The other side was what remains, no, of the 1880 earthquake. And that is Santa Monica Parish in Mexico, Pampanga. So yung teorya nila, kapag malayo ka sa Zambales mountain ranges, you're more prone to earthquake. And sa present naman, yung earthquake, Philippine fault, dumadaan talaga sa Central Luzon, in the mid of Luzon, away from the mountain ranges of Zambales. No? And in Bulacan, the earthquake is disastrous. No? Yun yung sumira ng Baraswain Church. No? The earthquake was disastrous to the towns located both in low beach region and in the volcanic mountain region. So, for example, sa Bulacan, the church and its elegant tower collapsed completely. No? While yung mga nasa ibabaw, mountain region, sabi nila mountain region, quote unquote, volcanic region, medyo mataas kasi, no? Kaya may anggat, nakaangat eh. Nakatayo pa, no? So here, itong Baliwag Bell Tower as reconstructed after 1880 earthquake, nakatayo siya, unlike the other churches like in Malolos na completely collapsed. Nakatayo ang sa Baliwag, pero ni-reconstruct pa rin nila kasi puno ng cracks eh. Ang sa San Rafael naman naputol sa gitna. No? So this was the 1880 earthquake. No? So marami pang earthquakes, no? Yun lang ang mga memorable. In fact, yun lang ang 1880 earthquake lang ang memorable. Memorable in the sense na it was the subject of so many writings ng mga writers, ng mga dyaryo, no? Both here in the Philippines and in Europe, no? And it was really shocking too, no? Kasi it destroyed, no, almost many cities in Central Luzon. So, meron tayong devastating typhoon na also subject of so many write-ups in the 19th century Philippines. No? Subject siya ng mga dyaryo at subject siya ng mga La Oceania Española, itong mga periodicals na dinidistribute noong 1880s. No? And kaya siya well documented among the many typhoons. And up to now, it is one of the biggest typhoons, no, that took place in the Philippines. No? That's October 1882. No? So tulad nito, itong book ng tinatago sa Biblioteca Digital Hispanica, yung Description del Huracan, 1882, no? Ito ay collection ng mga articles from Diario de Manila, no? Del Diario de Manila, no? So kung gagamit pala kayo ng magre-research pala kayo on this, merong mga iba't ibang pangalan ang typhoon. Pwedeng typhoon, pwedeng huracan, pwedeng cyclone, pwedeng temporal. So iba-iba yung pangalan nila, no? And then ginagamit din nila yung Tagalog word na bagyo. Pero ang spelling nila yung bagyo ng ng Cordillera, bagyo yung spelling nila. Pero they refer to bagyo, no? So you can use the search word cyclone, huracan, temporal, typhoon o bagyo. No? Ayan. So during the time 1882, we are suffering from the pandemic of cholera. No? Ang daming namatay sa cholera. Tapos dumating pa itong hurakan, no? And ano ito, no? Hindi ito isolated hurakan, para itong tandem ni Bagyong Rolly at Bagyong Ulysses. Kasi itong hurakan noong October 20, 1882, nasundan ito ng another hurakan ng November 5, 1882, same year, no? 15 days ang pagitan. Parang tandem ito ni Ulysses at saka ni Rolly, no? Mas matindi nga lang itong hurakan ng 1882. By the way, wala silang names ng bagyo noon. They just place a date, no? Hindi sila hindi ngayon tulad ngayon na may mga pangalan ng lalaki o babae, no? And then naka-alphabetical, no? Sa kanila nung time nila, they name it by date, no? And ang damages ang naging sukatan ng lakas o ng bagyo, no? Larawan pala ito ng Manila, no, nung panahon ng hurakan ng 1882. No? Lahat ng mga houses ng may light materials ay na-destroy. No? So they were still suffering from the cholera pandemic, no? For example, dito sa Bulacan, 30 persons a day yung namamatay doon, at saka sa Kingwa, no, 30 persons a day. Tapos biglang may typhoon na ganyan. So, yung Governor General noon, sinabi niya na yung typhoon ang siyang wash away ng cholera, kasi after this typhoon of 1882, bumaba na yung bilang ng mga cholera cases, no? Ayan. So, sa typhoon na ito, may record tayo, no? Ito yung mga nasira, no? Sa Sa Bulacan, na capital noon ay 3,819 houses, no? 1 death and 2 wounded. Sa Baliwag, Bulacan, nasira 1,232 houses, no? Wala namang namatay, no? Sa Kingwa, all houses. Wala nang number kasi all. Sa Malolos, 3,921 houses, no? Sa Baraswain, which is separate town noon, 1,349 houses. Sa Santa Isabel, all houses. Sa Hagonoy, 3,000 houses, no? May school din na nasira, at saka yung kwartel, yung barracks ng Guardia Civil, Carabineras de Seguridad Pública, no? Barracks. Sa Obando, 1,200. At saka yung kanilang courthouse at saka school nila. Sa May Kawayan, all houses. Sa Polo, 1,732. Sa Santa Maria, Bulacan, 1,200. Sa Kalumpit, lahat. Sa Bustos, 50 houses. San Rafael, 500 houses. Sa Marilao, 678 houses. Sa Bigaa, all houses. Sa Giginto, all houses. Sa North Sagaray, 349 houses. Church, convent, at saka school. So sa Pulilan, lahat ng houses. Sa Angat, 230, including the barracks. Sa Central Luzon lang to, ha. And then San Ildefonso, 230 houses. Mostly yung tekumbre, yung roof, no? Yung sa San Jose, all houses, liban sa 20 na lang yung nakatayo, no? And then sa San Miguel, Bulacan, 200 houses. All in all, sa Bulacan, 20,376 houses plus. Kasi walang number yung ibang all houses lang, eh. One church na talagang totally na destroy, kasi temporary church, provisional church siya, eh. The other churches has no roofs. And then one convent ang nawala. 3 deaths and then 2 wounded. Doon sa 1882. No? So, ang trajectory ay makikita nyo dyan. Nakakatuwa kasi wala pa namang mga wala pa namang mga satellite images noon. But yung Observatorio del Ateneo Municipal de Manila was able to show, no, through data, no, sa kanilang mga barometers at saka sa kanilang mga instruments na galing pang Europa, kung saan dumaan ang bagyo, no? And the trajectory is from Bicol to Manila, pero yung kaniyang width and breadth ay Central Luzon hanggang Southern Luzon, no? Hanggang Mimaropa, no? Pero ang Central Luzon talaga ang naano sa fury niyan. Ang eye lang ng ang eye of the bagyo, vortices, ay dumaan sa Manila, no? And that's the trajectory. So to continue, the province of Pampanga, Bacolor has 1,800 houses destroyed. Kasama na yung Casa Real, yung church at saka yung quartel o barracks. Ang San Luis, ganun din, 433. Kasama ang mga storage houses, camarines, 33 camarines, 10 visitas or chapels, and then 10 huts, called garitas. So sa Guagua, 600 houses, the church and the barracks were destroyed, although no casualties. Kung napansin niyo, no casualties kasi we have experienced bagyo every time na eh. So people know what to do. No, although their houses are destroyed, no. Ayan. So San Miguel, Pampanga, 20 houses, Santa Rita, all houses, Minalin, 855 houses, 8 chapels, 7 huts, and 4 bridges or puentes. No? 6 more, Sasmuan, all houses, Lubao, all houses, including the quartel, Arayat, 241 houses, 58 storage houses, and 3 garitas or huts. Ganon din sa Porac. So, Bulacan was the most damaged, followed by Pampanga in terms of the number of houses. And dito ko napansin na may mga eskwelahan na pala kasi the schools are reported to be damaged. Eskwela de Niñas, no? Eskwela de Niños, no, are reportedly damaged. So, minsan magdududa ka na sa mga sinasabi nilang hindi priority ng mga Espanyol ang mga schools, no? But documents like this would show us na may mga schools sa mga towns natin, no? Mexico, 987 houses, 195 storage houses, camarines, 14 visitas or chapels, and then 10 garitas or huts. San Simon, all houses, including the church and the convent, are destroyed. Florida Blanca, all houses, camarines, including the harvests, no? Kasi may mga almacenes sila, yung nilalagyan nila ng mga harvest, no? Were destroyed, no? The church and the convent. Candaba, 54, and all, isa-iside ko na lang, sige, 4 camarines and including the quartel, the barracks. Magalang, 299 houses. The iglesia was also, yung bubong ng iglesia ng Magalang, no, na natanggal. Yung quartel nila ng kanilang Guardia Civil, yung kanilang storage houses, and then 8 visitas or chapels, no, destroyed. Macabebe, 2/3 of the total houses, including the tribunal, Casa Tribunal, the courthouse, eskwela, and then the puentes. Santo Tomas, only 10 houses were standing. Betis, all houses, and the eskwela and the tribunal was also destroyed. Angeles, no, hindi na binilang, unaccounted houses. The church was also destroyed and the Casa Tribunal was also destroyed. Apalit, 1,439 houses. Tribunal, barracks, courthouse, church, and 58 camarines. Santa Ana, 168 houses, 41 camarines, 7 chapels, 6 huts, the courthouse, and 2 bridges. Mabalacat, walang natira. All houses were destroyed, including the church and the tribunal. San Fernando, all houses. No? So, 8,347 houses. No? Both of good materials and light materials, no? Actually, sa San Fernando, sa Angeles, no? Sa Malolos, sa Baliwag, sa Bustos, at sa Bulacan-Bulacan, at sa iba pang di ko nababanggit. Marami ng mga stone houses during this time, no? As a reaction to the typhoons na bumibisita taon-taon. So, sinisemento na ng mga tao yung bahay nila, no? As a reaction. Kaso nga lang, despite the fact na sementado, inhabitable, no? They have to repair it. But those of light materials talagang totally in ruin, no? Destroyed, no? So all in Pampanga, 8,347 casas, 9 iglesias, 9 churches, 6 cuartel o barracks, 51 visitas or chapels, no? 6 courthouses, 36 garitas or huts, 6 na bridges and 2 kumbento, and 490 camarines, no? 490 camarines is a very big blow. Kasi yan yung nilalagyan ng mga products na mga palay, mga kopra, mga asukal, no? Kaya kung masira yan, sira din yung mga harvests na nakaimbak. So ito yung body of the cyclone, no? La cuerpo di ciclone. No, el cuerpo di ciclone. Based on the instruments that the Observatorio del Ateneo Municipal de Manila, no, gathered, no, the observations therein. Nandyan pa actually yung observatory na yan. Makakakuha pa tayo ng mga documents dyan if we want to study climate change, historical climate changes. No? Ayan. So to continue, ito ang Zambales, ito yung pinaka-list sa Central Luzon. And then there were no records for Nueva Ecija, for Aurora, for Tarlac. Kasi rains lang naman ang meron sila, so kinaya lang din ng kanilang mga houses doon. But Zambales was also devastated with Botolan at 140 houses. No? The provisional church, syempre provisional lang yon. The church was not permanent pa. So it was made of techo de nipa, no? Ang roof niya nipa. Then part of the convent and then the school. The Kabagan, 200 houses, the tribunal and the church, not to mention the plantations. No? Candelaria, 42 houses were destroyed. The church was also destroyed and the tribunal. Castillejos, ito kawawa ito kasi may mga villages ng Aita dito. Kawawa yung mga Espanyol dito. Kasi ang the Aitas hindi kawawa yan. They are used to it, no, culturally. Ang mga Espanyol kasi they made so much efforts to relocate the Aitas, no, to Christianize them. Pero the Bagyos, no, drove the Aitas back to the safety of their mountain dwellings. And so nahirapan na naman silang magtawag ulit, no. Ayan. So the Aitas really are very much adjusted to our climate, no. 53 houses, part of the church and the courthouse as well as the school. And then 21 houses ng mga Aita villages. Yung bayan na Ribera de San Fernando, hindi ko na alam kung saan to ngayon, no? Baka na-absorb na ito, no? 19 houses were devastated, including the barracks, the convent, and the school. San Antonio, 14, the church, the plantations of cacao and coffee, as well as rice. San Felipe, 15 houses. San Marcelino, 120 houses. San Narciso, 25. So, pag tiningnan mo, medyo mababa yung sa Zambales. No? Santa Cruz, many houses, including the Municipal Hall. Sindol, 20 houses, including the Casa Tribunal. And then Subic, 25 houses. So, 672 houses lang yun sa Zambales. Now, after 15 days, dumating ulit yung isang bagyo, no? And this time, wala na siyang i-collapse na mga bahay. So, pero kawawa yung nagtayo agad, no? Nag-reconstruct agad only to suffer 15 days later another typhoon of the same trajectory, no? But of lesser fury. Yung typhoon pala kanina, umabot siya sa 225 kilometers per hour. And that's really a super typhoon. No? That's a big one, no? Ayan, so kaya lang itong November 15 typhoon, ano siya, bigger ang kanyang width, no? Hanggang Ilocos ang kanyang sakop, no? And the whole of Central Luzon. Wala na siyang itutumba pa sa Central Luzon. At ang mga tao sa Central Luzon ay hindi na rin sila masyadong affected, no? Nasanay, no? Ayan. So in 15 days, no? So 1882 was a very sad year for the Philippines, no? So i-juxtapose natin ang October 20, 1882 at saka November 5, 1882 based sa data ng obserbatoryo, no, ng Ateneo Municipal de Manila, mas malaki ngunit mas mahina ang November 5. Ang Luzon, no, ay na-battered ng twice in 15 days span, no? Reminiscent talaga sa Bagyong Rolly at Bagyong Ulysses. So what are the Filipino reactions to natural disasters, no? Number one na napansin ko sa documents, bahala na. No, we have this this attitude na bahala na, no? Napansin ko din yan sa present cultural mental template, no? Nagpunta ako ng Mayon Volcano last November, this November lang, last November. Filipinos really lived near the volcano and mainit-init pa minsan yung mga lahar doon, no? Na dumaan sa gilid ng bahay nila, and they want transfer, no? In fact, ang mga Espanyol pa yung namimilit sa atin to transfer to a better place, no? Like yung nangyari sa Aurora, sa Baler, they will transfer kasi Trumba Marina really is an imminent threat, no? And tsunami is an imminent threat to people living near the coasts. And storm surges, no? Yung once in a while, the sea will reclaim yung coastal areas. And Baler, then as it is now, is exposed to the threat of Trumba Marina, the threat of tsunami, the threat of storm surges, no? Pero the Filipinos, they stick to it, no? They don't want to transfer. Dito na lang tayo, mas convenient, no? Bahala na. And you also see that in Candaba, where in Pampanga, where Filipinos are exposed to annual flooding, no? And in fact, tinataasan nila yung bahay nila doon, no? Nakakatuwa tingnan na mahahaba yung mga paa ng mga bahay nila, no? That's adapted to the annual flooding, no? Walang laman yung first floor, just mga paa lang, no? And then yung sa Tacloban, no? Tacloban in 1893, 1896, dinaanan din ng malaking bagyo yan, but they still want to be there. They still don't want to leave the place, no? Meron tayong cultural resilience, and meron tayong phrase to capture that, no? Bahala na, no? And this is open to all possibilities, no? Including economic, no? Na walang makain, bahala na, no? Mabagyo ka, dito pa rin tayo sa bahay natin, bahala na. O sumabog na yung bulkan, o sige, bahala na. Ayan. And then that is being shown among the documents, no, reading between lines, no? Kasi you need to read between the cracks of the parchments para makita mo ang Filipino culture. We have to remember that these were written by the Spaniards, no? So these are not written by us, by the Filipinos. So we read between lines and we see na Filipino identity, Filipino cultural characteristics of fatalism, bahala na, is very present, no? And it is much because of our exposure, no, long-term, chronic exposure sa natural disasters that annually plagued us, no? And then doon sa 1645 earthquake, it was explained na Filipinos learned to construct houses of stronger materials. Ano? A decision they took kasi they have to save themselves from the annual typhoons, cyclones, hurricanes, no, that battered the country every year. So nagkaroon tayo ng changes in the way and the manner na mag-construct natin yung ating mga houses. No, we choose stronger materials. Ngayon, meron pa din tayong mga bahay kubo na we choose also the stronger bamboos and we constructed it in a manner na architecturally madadaanan lang ng bagyo. So meron akong mga nakikita na dinaanan ng Ulysses, dinaanan ng Rolly, hindi na nagalaw. Kasi there was an architectural technique sa construction ng mga houses natin because of the natural disasters, no? So the initial reaction and part din ng Spanish influence is the construction of houses of stronger materials. Pero di natin na consider na these houses of stronger materials may also be a reason for our demise kapag may earthquake, no? So kaya yung earthquake ng 1645 was so instructive, no, na do not just build houses of strong materials, no? Build it with the possibility of standing heavy earthquakes, no? Kaya sabi nga nila nakasquat daw yung ating mga simbahan, no? Sasayaw lang sa earthquakes, no? Because of our experiences, no? Another reaction is relocation, no? Many a times, lalo na kung bahain yung area, nagre-relocate yung mga tao, yung mga Filipinos, no? Like sa nangyari sa Trumba Marina sa Baler, they actually quote unquote relocated sa Dingalan, no? And but this relocation was an initiation of the Spaniards, no? They relocated to the higher grounds, no? In the past, Filipinos really are nomadic, no? Most at least, no, are nomadic. They can easily transfer from one place to another because it is a reaction to natural disasters. Meron pa nga akong nabasa lately na isa daw sa mga reaction natin sa pandemic noon ay ang lumayo at lumipat, no? Lumipat tayo sa area na may pandemic, no? Ayan, o kaya may cholera epidemic, o kaya may mga epidemic, no? Malaria, ganyan. Lumalayo tayo sa mga lugar na may ganyan. So that's our reaction. And then yung this too shall pass, no? We stick it out, no? Para sa atin, the sun shines naman, the sun still shines, no? And all tragedies will pass. No? All sadness will pass para sa atin as Filipinos. That's our reaction. No? This too shall pass. Anyway, meron ako mga insights for increased cultural resilience. Kasi para sa mga Filipinos, sa atin, sa Central Luzon lalo, for us, we are always optimistic. And optimism is more powerful than positivism, no? sa Filipinos, no? For us, hope springs eternal. And hindi ko nakita ito sa hindi ko lang nakita ito sa mga natural disasters na nabanggit natin. Nakita ko din ito even sa mga man-made disasters like yung World War II, no? We always hope, no? Kaya pinagtawanan na tayo dyan eh. Kasi nakangiti pa din daw ang Filipinos kahit dumaan na ng bagyo, no? Ang mga foreigners, pinagtatawanan tayo, ang baliw-baliw daw natin gawa ngang we still manage to smile. For us, hope is eternal. We always hope. Na? Pagkatapos ng bagyo, we always say. Pagkatapos nito, pagkatapos ng pagsubok na ito, we always say that. No? Pagkatapos kong mag-aral ng college, pagkatapos ng giyera, pagkatapos ng bagyo, we always say that. And that is really our cultural value na hindi na matatanggal sa atin. And our chronic exposure to the natural disaster strengthen that value in us. No? Yan. So, Filipinos, we also love, no? We also love. We love ourselves, we love our neighbors, no? We love we help, no? We Filipinos are more powerful than we realize. The only reason why we survived the centuries of natural disasters is because we love each other. We help each other. We support each other, no? Hindi ito matatagpuan halos sa ibang mga matagpuan in a lower degree, but in the Philippines it's in a higher degree, no? We consider each other a family, no? Kaya continue to love, no? It will help us, no? It will make us survive. It's more important than fear. Love will keep us safe. No, minsan natatakot tayong may mangyari sa atin kaya we keep ourselves safe. But that is based on fear. Sa Filipinos, we based it on love. And love will keep us safe. Like I will love myself, I will keep myself safe because I love my family and they're waiting for me. And they want me to survive and they want me to be alive. So love keep Filipinos safe, not fear. No? And then because of our chronic, no, long-term exposure to natural disasters like the ones mentioned, Filipinos realized that life is a gift. No? It is a gift. Kaya kung mapapansin nyo, madalang ang mga Filipinos na nagsusuicide because to them, life is a gift. Mataas ang suicide rate ng ibang bansa, no? Like sa Amerika, best-selling books ang mga how to commit suicide, no? Number 1 top seller ng mga libro 'yon. But in the Philippines, we don't even consider it, no? We don't even talk about it. It's a taboo. Hindi siya pag-uusapan. Uy, wag ganun. Wag mong isipin 'yan, no? For Filipinos, because of this chronic long-term, pag sinabing chronic, long-term exposure to these disasters, we come to love life and we consider it as a gift, no? And that's the reason why, no? We live our life to the fullest. We laugh, no? Our hearts out, no? We joke around, no? Kahit meron akong nabasang pinapalo na nilalatigo na ng Espanyol yung isang Filipinong nagkasala. Tumatawa yung pinagtatawanan pa yung sigaw niya. Sumisigaw siya. Pinagtatawanan pa ng ibang mga Indio, quote unquote Indio. Sabi ng mga Espanyol, ito sinasaktan na, tumatawa pa yung iba. Parang napakasiraulong kultura ito, no? Para sa kanila siraulo, but we consider life as a gift and we laugh ourselves out, no? Kahit anong tragedy yan, tinatawanan, no? Si Freddie Aguilar had it, no? Tawanan mo ang iyong problema. Kaya yan, number 4, yung laugh. We laugh and continue to laugh. I encourage you to smile despite everything. Kasi that's how Filipino we can be. it's very un-Filipino for us to surrender. We are a fighting culture. No? It's very, I repeat, it's very un-Filipino for us to yield. No? After all these incidents, no, 400 major typhoons recorded in the fourth century, in the years that the Spaniards colonized us up to the present. No? And finally, another insight I've read from reading our topic for today, on our topic for today, challenges are gifts. Itong mga naranasang bagyo, gift ito. No? Of course, it's difficult to think na bagyo ka na, nasira na bahay mo, wala ka nang makain. No? Kasi yung plantations mo, yung fields mo, yung business mo, nabahaan. Gift pa ba yun? No? You may not consider it as a gift kasi you're having a difficult time. No? But at the end of the day, no, when everything is over, you will realize that it is a gift. It is a gift. No? Nilubog ang Mount Pinatubo, nilubog ng Mount Pinatubo ang Porac. No? Pero after nun, binigyan pala sila ng ang dami-daming trucks ng sand, no, na pwedeng maging economic enterprise ng kanilang bayan. Kaya ang lalaki-laki ng mga bonuses nila kasi ang dami ng kita nila sa Mount Pinatubo ashes. Ganon din sa Mabalacat, ang daming kita sa Gabon, sa Balas na dala ng Mount Pinatubo. Challenges are gifts, no? It makes us strong, no? And we will never surpass all this kung hindi natin kino-consider na gift ito. And with that, I think I need to wind up my discussion. I thank you very much for listening. I hope you learned something today, no? And I thank you so much.
Congratulations po for a very successful lecture about natural disasters in Region 3. And for now, we will now proceed po sa presenting of the Certificate of Recognition na naiaalay po. So to read this, so National Historical Commission of the Philippines, this Certificate of Appreciation is given to Attorney Robert John Inocencio Donesa in recognition of his invaluable contribution as speaker for the webinar entitled Natural Disasters in Region 3, held on the 16th day of January 2021 at the Museum of Philippine Social History, Angeles City, Philippines. Signed by none other than Ms. Bettina P. Arriola, Senior Shrine Curator of MPSH. Congratulations po, Attorney. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much din, Sir Ericson. Ma'am Betty, thank you. And everyone, thank you so much.